There's not much that can compare to that feeling of seeing a despised villain meet their fitting end. Nowhere in the world of video games will you get to attain such sweet gratification without also going to jail.
And stay up there!
Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we will be counting down our picks for the top 10 most satisfying villain deaths in video games.
I know you understand.
For this list, we're taking a look back at some of the most appreciated deaths to some of video games' biggest villains.
The last cup I had in this chair lasted almost 48 hours.
The deaths don't necessarily have to be performed by the hand of the player or the protagonist, but it has to be a permanent death nonetheless. We're limiting this list to one per franchise, and since we're talking about key characters kicking the bucket, be wary of spoilers.
See you around.
Number 10, Liquid Snake, Metal Gear Solid.
Dear brother.
Siblings can be such a nuisance at times. This nuisance just happens to be the cloned twin of brother Solid Snake.
What?
He deceives Snake by murdering and stealing the identity of Master Miller, and fooling him into activating Metal Gear Rex, which eventually leads to a hand-to-hand battle on top of the Rex. Oh, and he's not dead yet, as he's still around to hunt you down in an epic car chase, and even that proved not to be enough to end the deluded menace. During his last attempt to finish Snake, his body succumbed to the Fox-Die virus. That is, until the later games, when he then possesses Revolver Ocelot with a grafted arm, but that turned out to be a ruse with hypnosis drug nanomachines, and you know what? Forget it.
I am Liquid's doppelganger. And you are his.
Number 9, Maester Seymour, Final Fantasy X.
Once I have become the next sin, your father will be freed again.
Have you ever met that villain that just doesn't ever stay dead? Well, Seymour is that guy.
Not if I can help it!
After learning of his treachery, Tidus and his party go to kill him and end up being branded traitors. Then he reappears alive, now getting married to Yuna, and kills one of Auron's friends in the process, where you fight him again.
Now he has no worries. He has been granted sleep eternal.
But he's still alive, and now wipes out Kimahri's tribe on his third life.
Allow Kimahri to die and release him from his pain.
His tyranny finally comes to an end inside Sin, when Yuna provides him a long overdue sending.
Spira's sorrow will prevail.
Number 8, Zeus, God of War 3.
Father and son will die together.
Not only was the end to the legendary Greek god extremely rewarding, but it played out to be one of the most epic final boss fights in the franchise. After succumbing to Zeus's betrayal in God of War 2 with the Blade of Olympus draining his power, Kratos gets the opportunity to give the King of the Gods the beatdown of his eternal life. Oh yeah, and did we mention that Zeus was Kratos' father? Typical Greek mythology for you.
My son, it is time.
After stabbing him rather fittingly with the Blade of Olympus, Kratos follows up by finishing him with his bare hands. Number 6, Big Smile Lee, Sleeping Dogs.
You did this, Lee, and I'm coming for you.
A death as gruesome as it was satisfying, this was a full-on statement for the game's overly violent tone. Protagonist Wei's last fight with mob boss Big Smile Lee ended in a literal bloodbath when he throws the Sun On Yee leader into an ice chipper. Yeah, like we said, gruesome. The crime boss was notorious for his excessive use of violence and torture, so to see him go in such a way earns him a well-deserved spot. Number 6, Officer Tenpenny, Grand Theft Auto, San Andreas.
Welcome home, Carl. Glad to be back.
It never got more crooked than the crooked police of Los Santos, although the definitive centerpiece of the unruliness was no other than Officer Tenpenny.
Bitch, get out of here.
Through extortion and blackmail, Tenpenny pulled the strings to the dirty doings of the city, exclusively using protagonist CJ as his personal pawn.
Now you make sure he never leaves the neighborhood, not even in a box.
In Tenpenny's effort to escape Los Santos, he's thwarted by CJ in a desperate car chase. Crashing and running over and over past, the broken and battered Tenpenny suffers a slow death.
I took the trash out. I did. And I do it all again.
Number 5, David, The Last of Us.
Everything happens for a reason.
David leads a faction of cannibals and comes across Ellie in an ambush by the infected.
You had another gun?
Sorry.
Upon discovering his ill intentions, Ellie attempts to escape, but later finds herself locked in an old abandoned building with him alone.
Nowhere to go.
And what's worse, it's implied that he intends to do other things to her.
You have no idea what I'm capable of.
Maneuvering herself quickly to escape, Ellie must play the creepiest game of hide and seek ever. In a final desperate struggle, Ellie breaks free and hacks away at his face with his own machete. On top of his grim demise, it's also a relief to see Ellie survive what was clearly a traumatic experience.
Lee, listen to me. I need you to hear this before what happens next.
Number 4, The Stranger, The Walking Dead, Season 1.
You wouldn't have done better.
That is exactly what I would have done!
There's no room for mercy when it comes to protecting someone you care for, so it came to be a great pleasure to see this creep get done in.
I hate seeing you like this. I just miss your smile, honey.
His name and origin are unknown for the duration of the game, but he appeared to be hell-bent on getting revenge on Lee's group. When he abducts Clementine at the end of episode 4, Lee must find her in a rather disturbing hotel.
I got us adjoining rooms.
Eventually, Lee subdues the stranger through a button-mashing sequence, though the final blow ends up coming from a rather shaken Clementine. Number 3, Vladimir Makarov, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. He leads a massacre against innocent civilians to start World War III.
Remember, no Russian.
Kidnapped the Russian president, and he used his daughter to get his country to invade Europe. Oh, and it turns out he was responsible for that nuke in the first Modern Warfare game. Damn right this bastard deserves to die.
What happens here today will change the world forever.
He is eventually killed by Captain Price in a brutal scene where he's beaten through a glass roof and then hung by a stray cord. Now that's some justice. A close second was the heroic kill where Soap pulled a knife out of his own chest and then threw it to take down General Shepard in Modern Warfare 2. Number 2, The Nemesis, Resident Evil 3, Nemesis. This abomination haunts die-hard Resident Evil fans to this day. Persistence isn't even strong enough a word to describe this bioorganic weapon, with its sole purpose being to relentlessly hunt down and kill the STARS members, specifically Jill Valentine, with a heavy emphasis on relentlessly. Throughout the game, this thing constantly pursues and attacks you, no matter how many bullets you pump into him. Jill finally ends the monster by pumping a full round of magnums into his head, thus finally ending the nightmare.
You want stars? I'll give you stars.
Before we unveil our pick for the most satisfying villain death in a video game, here are a few honorable mentions.
You!
Number 1, Edgar Ross, Red Dead Redemption.
Oh my god! They killed him!
The man who kidnapped John Marston's wife and son in order to use John to take out his old gang was a clear no-brainer for number 1.
You sent him to do your dirty work. Then you shot him like a dog.
It was bad enough that this guy used John's family to do the government's dirty deed, but what was worse was he later tried to have John and his family killed to cover up his actions. Although John sacrificed his life to ensure that his wife and son escaped, witnessing that same son get his revenge many years later as a young man was all the more satisfying. Do you agree with our list? Which villain couldn't you wait to see meet their end?
I'm here to take care of your fat ass.
For more classic top 10s published daily, be sure to subscribe to WatchMojo.com.